Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot. For today's pick a card reading, we have yet another topic suggested by one of my lovely viewers, who is at May Sunflower, spelled Flour, just like the last video. So big thanks to May Sunflower for recommending yet another fantastic topic, which, as you can see by the title down below, is what travel destination sings to your spirit. So we're going to ask Spirit today to talk about not only some possible physical locations that would be great travel destinations for you, my lovely pile 1, 2s, and 3s, but also the reason why you're being recommended towards those destinations. Basically, what Spirit believes is best attuned to what your soul needs or wants most. And we'll see if more than one location pops up. I bet probably more than one will. So without further ado, let's pick our piles. For pile number 1s, we have She Who Rises Up, Pearl, with the tagline, Empower, Uplift, Elevate. For my pile number 2s, we have She Who Emerges, Kamala, Enlightenment, Mindfulness, Rise Up. And for my pile number 3s, we have She Who Grants Wishes, Alice, with the tagline, Wish, Desires, Hope. So whenever you are ready, if you have already decided on what pile you would like, or if you want to pause right at this moment right here and still meditate on which card calls most to you. Either way, whenever you are finished and have decided what pile you want read for you, as always, the timestamps are down in the description box and the top pinned comment below. Drop down to either section and click on the timestamp for your reading, and I will see you in our discussion about what travel destination sings to your spirit. Bye. Hello, my lovely pile number 1s. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of what travel destination sings to your spirit. As you recall, the card I used to pick your pile was She Who Rises Up, Pearl, Empower, Uplift, Elevate. And this reading will work in 2 different sections like most of my readings. First, we're going to talk about the where, so what travel destinations are being specifically recommended. And the second section will be more about the why. What's the benefit of traveling to these places specifically for your spirit or your mental, emotional health, that type of thing, okay? So right off the bat, we'll weave in your pile leader with your other cards, but I always kind of like to focus on the pile leader in the beginning just to kind of get a very intuitive sense right away of what locations are coming forward, okay? So obviously we have a figure here who is an Asian person, right? And with the prevalence of both gold and red colors in this card, I'm getting the sense of China and or East or Southeast Asia in general. Okay, so we'll see what other cards do pop out, but it could be that you were specifically drawn to this card as your pile leader because already some country in East Asia or Southeast Asia calls to you. Okay, so we'll set your pile leader off to the left here to start. And let's split the cards into 2 sections. So these 2 cards at the end will be more the why. We'll talk about that towards the end. And then we have your oracle cards for the where. I also will pull some Lenormand and tarot cards here in a little bit after we reveal your oracle cards, okay? So first up, we have botanical inspirations. Your flower for today is gladiola, or gladiolus. Strength of character and moral integrity. The quote down here says, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experiences of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. And that was from Helen Keller, which is, as you know, is the famous figure who was both deaf and blind and succeeded despite that, despite the struggle she had in life, right? Gladiola obviously kind of sounds like gladiator. This flower, to my understanding, too, is native to, I believe, Africa and the Mediterranean. So I'm getting kind of maybe like a Roman vibe. Mediterranean in general, could be North Africa. Especially with gladiator, I get the sense of like gladiators from Rome, so perhaps Italy. We'll see what else pops out though before I get too in the weeds with that. Your folklore oracle for today is the fir tree, so maybe a little bit too of another destination that's a northern climate. Fir trees are evergreens, snow, winter. Okay. We'll set your folklore oracle down here to the right. Excuse me. And then we also have the Sacred Destiny card of Power. Mountainous. Maybe a place with a lot of rain, with storms. Perhaps a city in the mountains somewhere. I'm getting a sense there. Once again, I'm thinking the mountainous areas of China, mountainous areas of Asia in general, at least East and Southeast Asia. So there's kind of, so far, a twofold sense of one travel destination that might be good for your soul is, like I said, Southeast Asia or East Asia, somewhere specifically mountainous. Okay, city in the mountains somewhere. And then we also have a sense of maybe somewhere in the Mediterranean or North Africa here with your gladiola. And then also with the fir tree, maybe somewhere more boreal or with evergreen trees, more wintry. Okay. I'm going to pull your tarot cards too, because this specific tarot deck I have is from folktales around the entire world. And that can help kind of give us a sense of maybe where in the world else, or maybe reemphasize the things we already talked about. So, Spirit, for my lovely pile number ones, could you give me 4 cards explaining more about the where they might be inclined to travel, please? What's good for their soul? I also have Lenormand cards here, pile number ones for you. We're going to use that more in the why section, okay? All right, let's see. I'm going to pick out this one. We have, this is, I believe, and forgive me if I'm incorrect, Journey to the West. This is from China. This is a Chinese folktale, so definitely I think China. East Asia at the very least. Judgment specifically is a card about moving through different phases of spirituality, rising higher. Definitely China. Okay. Or East Asia or Southeast Asia in general. Okay. We also have the Page of Cups reversed. I am not 100% familiar with where this is. I usually don't look at the guidebook, but just because this is a travel destination related reading, I want to make sure. I believe this is an Asian folktale too, so let me grab the book for 1 second. Forgive my pause and or background noise you might hear as I shuffle my decks around. And the Page of Cups reversed is usually about asking for more about emotional exploration, exploring things emotionally. I believe this is, I think that's an Asian folktale. Let me see what country though. So we have the Page of Cups here. One moment. Page of Cups. This is the Philippines. Okay. Filipino. So perhaps the Philippines. This is Bakunawa and the Seven Moons. Okay. Bakunawa and the Seven Moons, the Philippines. Okay. Yes. So Asian influenced country to my understanding. I'm going to keep that book just in case here. Let's pull out your 2 other cards though before I go on. We have, this is White Buffalo Woman from the Lakota, the Hierophant. That is the Dakota areas of, or the Midwest of the United States, basically. Hierophant is about tradition, passing things down, okay? Old patterns. So maybe somewhere in the Midwest US, which I know isn't typically a travel destination recommended, but I'll tell you as a Midwestern citizen of the United States, there's a lot of really cool places that are really underrated compared to the coasts of the, because I feel like depending on where you are in the world, when you think of the US, you probably think of like New York or Texas or California. There's a lot of beauty in between the coasts in the US. So if you are inclined maybe towards the Midwestern US, like I said, is the area I'm from. Minnesota's beautiful, the Dakotas are beautiful, Montana is beautiful, that kind of area. That's where this Hierophant is kind of from, the Lakota tribes, right? Dakota. All right, and then one more card. We have the Queen of Wands reversed. This is a Hawaiian folktale to my understanding. I will check to make sure though. Queen of Wands reversed is all about something, asking more about the mastery internally of creativity or passion, okay? So I'm going to make sure I look at the guidebook and see what specifically, I believe it's Hawaii, but which is also in the US. So maybe the United States if you're not living here, or if you do live here and you maybe are not from these particular regions of the US, maybe Hawaii or the Midwest would be, the Plains specifically would be a good place. Anyways, the Queen of Wands. This Queen of Wands is from the folktale of Pele from Hawaii. That's what I was correct. So she is a volcano goddess. The creation of life, but also destruction. Like volcanoes, right? They create land. That's how the Hawaiian Islands were created. So I'll put the guidebook away for now. I just wanted to make sure I knew the location specifically. So pile number ones. We already kind of talked about everything, glossed over at least shortly as I pulled the cards out. But number one, definitely China. You have this card with gold and red elements, and it is an Asian figure. You also got Judgment, which I believe this is from Journey to the West. Let me actually check that just to make sure too. I'll be really quick here. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Yes, from China, Chinese mythology. Okay, the Monkey King. All right, so I might have been incorrect about Journey to the West, but anyways, yes. Okay, so yes, China, definitely. Someplace, also with pearl too, could mean somewhere by the ocean, because pearls are within the ocean, right? They're from oysters. So somewhere East Asia with mountains and water, ocean, probably China, could also be Japan. Something like that, okay? You also have power here. This is a card. There's a city in the mountains here with lightning and storms. That also makes me think of Japan specifically. Mountainous cities, things like that. So, travel destination number one, East Asia. Probably Japan or China specifically, okay? Or Korea also is surrounded by a lot of water and ocean too, of course. So Korea could be also another option, right? All right. But specifically, China was pulled out here with the Monkey King, or the Sun Wukong. All right, so number two. Also, sorry, the Philippines here as another option with, I mean, even combined with Hawaii too, island nations. If you're not already from Hawaii or the Philippines, that could be another indication to maybe travel there, somewhere in the Pacific. Okay, Pacific Islands. So Philippines or Hawaii, like I just said. Hawaii is technically, I suppose that would be considered the United States technically. So that's another option for you, pile number ones, okay? We do see a little bit of Midwestern U.S. here with the Hierophant. This is White Buffalo Woman from the Lakota stories, okay? That would be the plains of the United States. So like I said before, as a Midwesterner, okay? To my understanding, most of the time when people think of the United States, they think of like, yeah, California, Hollywood, Texas, cowboys, they think of New York, big city, right? But there's a lot of beauty in the interior of the United States, okay? Not only are like the Rockies are really beautiful in the West, like say Colorado, for example, but also the plains are gorgeous too. They're considered kind of boring, but I can tell you as a Midwesterner, they're really not. There's a lot of beauty there, specifically with Native American history and folklore, okay? So White Buffalo Woman, like I said, is Lakota. That would be like the Dakotas in Minnesota. Let's say like the Black Hills are beautiful. That could be one travel destination for you. A lot of spirituality out there because of the Lakota influence, right? There are, what else could you go see? I'm trying to think. There is it, I should know this is my home state, Pipestone, Minnesota, out west. I believe there are stones there that were used by Native Americans for I think to make pipes is why it's called pipestone. Don't quote me on that. If anyone wants to correct me down in the comments below, please feel free to, especially people who are of Lakota origin. But yes, so the Midwestern United States, the Plains states specifically with the Hierophant there. And then, like I said too, with the Filipino card here and the Hawaiian card here, Pacific Islands, okay? Somewhere in the Pacific, okay? And then we also have here with the fir tree, this is interesting. The fir tree is, like I said, it stands out a little bit differently than the other cards because this is more of a boreal area. Evergreens. If you do maybe visit somewhere in the Midwestern U.S., the North Midwestern states, like say Michigan, Northern Dakotas, North Minnesota, right? They're almost kind of more like Canada. They're more of a cold boreal area, and I'll tell you this, like, as someone from Minnesota, you could probably tell from my accent. I have a funny, if you ever watched the show Fargo, that's where my accent comes from. Yes, beautiful Northwoods, gorgeous area, underrated. Specifically, I recommend the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota would be fantastic to see a place like this, right? Canada as well would be great with the fir trees, right? Boreal. Perhaps the northern parts of Asia that are more cold could be another indicator there too. More mountainous and cold. Okay. I'm not the greatest expert on geography, but I do know there are places in Asia that do get snow, to my understanding. So, yes. Let me see if there's anything else I can pull here before we go to the why. Okay. Any other intuitive things? Yeah. Lightning. Oh, and then, yes, oh yes, we already talked about perhaps Rome, North Africa, the Mediterranean there too. But definitely okay, so pile number ones, if you had to pick one out of all of these, I would say somewhere in Asia, okay? That's what you're being told here. With your Pearl card, the Monkey King, the Philippines here. Southeast Asia or East Asia, okay? Pacific Islands. Number two, if not that, then the Midwest US or North Africa or the Mediterranean, or someplace boreal like the North Woods of the Midwest US or Canada, let's say, for example. Okay, there's some benefit to your spirit to all of these places. Okay, yeah, number one, probably East Asia, China specifically. Okay, so let's go to the why here for you, pile number ones. Why are you being called to these places? Okay, so let's look over your oracle cards first. So first up, we have the card of surrender to trust. Trust yourself in your decisions. Don't be swayed by other people's strong opinions about what we do. Take action and be confident that you have chosen the right path. So there's some lesson here by going to these places about trust. Interesting. We'll see what else pops out here. Apologies if the cards cover other cards. As always, you can always rewind a bit if there are other cards you want to continue viewing with my limited space here. We also have with the Lantern Oracle, another Asian figure. Okay. Asia being reemphasized, right? Metamorphosis, number 11. Power and strength lie within our surrender to change. Change and trust. Okay. Something here with changing ourselves and trusting. Okay. I'm actually going to shift those up a bit. And then I want to also get a Lenormand reading on this. Okay, so Spirit, for my lovely pile number ones, could you tell me why they're being drawn to these places or encouraged? 3 cards, please. Interesting. Trust and change. Oh, look at that. Sorry, one moment. Power. You also have the power card here from Sacred Destiny. There's something about power. So power, and then you also have power and strength lie within our surrender to change. So power could be another theme. Maybe personal power. Okay. Oopsie, sorry. This is a linen card stock. They tend to kind of want to stick together a bit. All right, we'll put your Metamorphosis back. And then anyways, Lenormand. All right, 1, 2, and then let's do this one. Oh, it's the back one, 3. Okay, excuse me. All right, we have the Scythe, Swift. Then we have the Woman, and then we have the Gardener, the Community. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Lenormand, really quickly, I always explain in my videos, it's a system like tarot, but read more bluntly. Each card is like a word in a sentence. So to read this for you, pile number ones. Let's see, Swift, we're cutting, femininity, and something communal here. One moment, please. Something about like the swiftness of feminine community. Oh. There's something to be learned about feminine energy in these places you're being encouraged to travel to, pile number ones, okay? Specifically, too, with your, even with all the cards you've gotten, most of your figures are feminine ones. I mean, you have Pele, you have White Buffalo Woman, you also have, I'm really sorry, I forgot the name, but this is a feminine figure to my understanding. Yes. Something about feminine. Actually, one moment. I'm going to make sure whether or not that's a feminine figure. One moment. That is the Page of Cups, yes. I have to look at the guidebook again. I'm sorry. I don't quite know this deck like the back of my hand yet. Bakunawa on the 7 moons. I'm sorry, that is a male figure. It is in this card, one of the 7 young moon siblings plays with Tua Shen, the Chinese god of same-sex relationships, and the red thread of fate that connects lovers. I'm sorry, that is a male figure. Forgive me. Young boy, okay. But mostly there are feminine energies, and specifically with your Lenormand here, that's the card of femininity right here. There's something to do with feminine energy tied to community in these travel destinations for you, pile number 1s, okay? It could be that there is some understanding from the culture of these places about the role of feminine energy and how it ties to community. Okay, it could help you get more in touch with feminine energy in your own life, no matter your gender. I mean, no matter gender, we both have masculine and feminine energy, right? There's something about power, feminine strength, especially with metamorphosis in your power card earlier, right? And also trust here might tie in a lot with that community aspect, trusting in other women or trusting in feminine energy in other people, okay? Things like that too with your pearl, she who rises up, empower, uplift, elevate. I don't know if there's like retreats for just women or something along the lines of a feminine energy type pastime, which, you know, of course, pastimes and hobbies aren't, you know, they're not owned specifically by one gender, but there's something here about feminine energy that's really coming across, okay? Changing community, relying on feminine energy in yourself and other people, okay? Let's see if there's anything else here to be gleaned. Trusting in other people. Trusting yourself. I don't know if maybe solo travel is a recommendation here, perhaps, especially with your trust card, because it talks about don't be swayed by other people's opinions and trusting yourself. It's like a self-discovery type thing that you're being encouraged towards here. And maybe part of traveling alone, of course, make sure, you know, it's a country that's safe for you to travel alone to. I know, you know, as a woman, sometimes there's countries that aren't necessarily safe for women to travel to that I've heard about myself specifically. I don't remember any off the top of my head, but of course, make sure it's safe to travel there alone as a woman if you are a woman, right? Or in general, right? But if that checks out, you know, for example, a lot of East Asian countries are pretty safe for women solo travelers if you are a woman, right? To my understanding, that could be an option for you, is to solo travel for the purposes of recognizing, trusting yourself, recognizing your own power, uplifting yourself, and tying to a community there that you don't necessarily have at home, okay? Feminine power, all right? And even if you are male or you're a man, you can also imbue feminine power, you know? It's not, like I said, it's not linked to specifically one gender. We both have feminine and masculine energy, okay? Let's see if there's anything else I can glean here. Yeah, it's about empowering yourself. And it's interesting because the scythe here is about swiftness, something happening quickly. It could bring you to, it could have been that you had you stayed where you are, like you would have learned this lesson anyways, but by going to this place, whatever it is you might choose, out of the ones recommended, it might bring you along that path a lot faster there, with the scythe being the card of swiftness. It's almost like an 8 of Wands if you're familiar with tarot. That's the kind of vibe I get from the scythe in Lenormand, okay? Yeah, so to summarize pile number 1s, definitely strongest recommended is East or Southeast Asia, okay? Or the Pacific Islands. If not that, somewhere in the Mediterranean or North Africa in general. Or someplace near the ocean and mountains, and maybe it does rain a lot. We saw that with your power card earlier. Also the Midwestern US, specifically the Plain States with that Hierophant we saw earlier, and or even in combination with the fir tree, like if you were to go to the North Woods of the Midwest or the US or into Canada, that could be more of a boreal evergreen forest area for you to travel to if that does call to you, okay? And the reason is, like we just talked about, is something to do with strengthening feminine power, especially tied to community, maybe relying and trusting both in yourself as a solo traveler more, but also other feminine energies, okay, to a community of some sort. And it might bring you to a change and finding that power a lot faster by going to this place. Perhaps it is a culture that imbues more of what you're being asked to explore more. That would bring you to that lesson a lot faster than if you were just staying where you are, or if you not traveled to that place. Okay, so pile number ones, I hope that reading was helpful for you. As always, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye. Hello, my lovely pile number twos. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of what travel destination sings to your spirit. As you recall, the card you used to pick your pile was She Who Emerges, Kamala. Enlightenment, Mindfulness, Rise Up. As always at the beginning, I like to talk about the pile later just a little bit. Of course, later we'll tie it in more with the other cards in tandem, but off the bat, though, the travel destination I'm getting with this ties into the name of this figure. So Kamala is, to my understanding, a name from India. Also, to my understanding, it translates to lotus, and I believe she's holding a lotus flower in her hands, and she's rising up from the water like lotuses do. Okay. So right off the bat, perhaps India is one travel destination that's being recommended, but of course we'll see what else pops up here, okay? So, we'll set your pile leader off to the left here. Excuse me, this reading will be in two different sections. First, we'll talk about the where, possible travel destinations, and then at the very end, we'll have a mini section of the why. Like, why is it beneficial to your spirit, okay? So, we're going to set these are the two cards for the why. We'll talk about these later. And we'll just talk about where now. So your Botanical Inspirations card is Honeysuckle, also known as Woodbine, Domestic Happiness and Devoted Affection. I will wind thee in my arms, so doth the woodbine the honeysuckle gently entwist, which was a quote by William Shakespeare, which, as we all know, was English. Honeysuckle specifically, though, to my understanding, originates from Japan. Okay, honeysuckle. So we're already seeing some, you're kind of like pile number ones where we're seeing some Asian countries. Specifically, though, you seem more, you do have some East Asia here with the honeysuckle with Japan, right? But maybe perhaps South Asia with India over here with Kamala, okay? But we'll see what else pops out. Your folklore oracle is the Thunderbird. The Thunderbird is a figure from Native American stories. Native Americans, I believe multiple tribes believed in the Thunderbird, so it's not really one specific tribe that this is linked to. The Thunderbird was I believe was a protector of mankind, often fighting what was known as the Great Horned Serpent, kind of a figure of the sky, fighting the underworld, okay? Created thunder with whenever it would flap its wings. That's what they attributed to the sound of thunder, right? And it would also create thunderbolts striking down. So Native American could be just the U.S. in general. We'll see if maybe we can glean a little bit more specific areas, just because so many different Native American tribes across the U.S. believe in the Thunderbird. But I love Thunderbird. That's probably, I'd have to say it's probably my favorite mythological creature. Anyways, so let's talk about your Sacred Destiny Oracle. You received fulfillment. We have a peach being fulfilled. I'm trying to think of where in the world peaches are most common. I mean, of course, I think of the southern U.S., like Georgia with peaches, right? Very well known for peach crops, right? Is there an area of Asia that has peaches too, though? If anyone is more familiar with where peaches are common in the world, please feel free to drop down to the comments below and drop a comment on that. Because I'm also getting, I think there are peach trees in East Asia. So once again, we have kind of an indication of East Asia here. We talked about Japan with the honeysuckle, but also maybe peaches with East Asia here. I believe at least China has peaches. But like I said, anyone feel free to correct me down below. All right. All right, and then we're also going to pull some tarot cards explaining from the Tarot of the Divine areas of the world. And forgive me, I did this with pile number one as well. I don't typically look at the guidebook, but because I'm not 100% familiar with all of these folktales, and I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the right locations, I might look at the guidebook if I'm not familiar exactly with where it is, okay? So we'll do 4 different cards. Because thankfully the guidebook for this deck, fantastic deck, does say exactly where everything is from. So we have Eight of Swords. I believe this is a French or German fairy tale, but don't quote me on that. Eight of Swords is about feeling trapped. I'll check the guidebook for that as well. I'll do that at the end here really quick. We also have Justice. I'm pretty sure this is a samurai. This is Japan. So we have Japan again. Japan probably is a #1 location for you, pile twos. Okay. Justice, which is, as it says on the tin, is about, well, justice, right? Righting the balance, fairness. We have the Hanged Man. I believe this is another European fairy tale. I'll have to check which one it is, specifically what country. It might be France or Germany. Hanged Man is about different perspectives. Okay. A lot of major arcana here. Let's see what else pops out. And then we also have another major arcana, the Tower, Rapunzel, which is from Germany. Probably Europe as well. We'll see. The Tower is all about the falling down of what needs to fall down to make room to build new foundations for better futures. That's how I describe the Tower. Okay. All right, and I'm going to check the guidebook like I promised here. So Eight of Swords. Let's see which fairy tale that is from. Eight of Swords is Donkey Skin from France. That is a French fairy tale. Okay. So France we have Japan. I believe that is a samurai. I'll make sure to be 100% certain. I'm pretty sure that's a samurai though. Oh, I'm sorry. That is actually Korea. Forgive me. And I might butcher the pronunciation. Forgive me, anyone that's from Korea or can speak Korean. Amhengyeosa. This is a Korean legend. Okay. Good thing I checked. Korea, which is also East Asia, right? Could be just East Asia in general, Japan or Korea. And then the Hanged Man, let's see which one that is. That is Sleeping Beauty from Italian fairy tales. So Italy. We're seeing some Southern Europe, okay, with France and Italy. And then the Tower is Rapunzel, which I know is German for sure. Okay, so pile number twos. Off the bat, the #1 thing that's popping out is somewhere in Asia. You're kind of like pile number ones that way. We talked about India with Kamala, which means lotus to my understanding. And it is an Indian name, okay. Sanskrit, I believe, technically. South Asia, so that's, yeah, India. We also talked about East Asia, especially because of the peach. The honeysuckle is a Japanese flower, technically, and then Justice here, which I completely butchered that. It's not a samurai, it's a Korean folktale. Okay, so not Japan, but East Asia, right? So, somewhere in East Asia, either Korea or Japan or China is being recommended here, okay? Something along those lines. There is a little bit of an inclination towards the United States here with the Thunderbird, because that is a figure from a lot of different Native American tribes. I wonder if they might be able to give me more of a inclination of where in America. I do see with the peaches, that tends to mean, I associate that with Georgia in America, because a lot of peaches are grown in the southern US. Okay. So maybe the southern US would be a good inclination here with the Thunderbird and the peach as well. I wonder. I'm gonna pull a card for Thunderbird, and I don't know if I'll get it specifically an American location, but I'm gonna try to glean where that might be. Spirit, can you tell me where the Thunderbird is indicating in the United States for pile number twos? We'll see. It might not be an American folktale that comes up here. Yeah, King of Cups reversed. That's another Asian folktale to my understanding. Yeah. We'll see. I'm going to pull just one more to make sure. We have a 6 of coins. I believe this is an Inuit folktale. Let me check the guidebook just to make sure. Sorry, I'm kind of hesitating a little bit here. Usually the readings are a bit smoother than this, but I just want to make sure I'm being accurate here. So 6 of coins. That could mean Alaska, but let me make sure, which is the United States technically. Yes, that is an Inuit fable from Alaska. So specifically somewhere in the US would be Alaska, which I've never been there before, but I've heard it's pretty damn gorgeous. So Alaska would be beautiful. I can recommend that as someone from the United States. And then the King of Cups, I just want to make sure what country that's from. That is a Chinese legend, the Boy and the Dragon Pearl. Okay. There are a lot of Chinese communities that were traditionally on the western coast of the United States, which is also where Alaska is. However, I believe the Chinese communities tended to be more in like California. They built a lot of the railroads that were originally here on the western U.S. So if you were to go to the United States, pile number 2s, I would recommend either somewhere on the west coast where there were Chinese communities, or still are, or Alaska specifically. Especially there too with I don't know if the Inuit specifically believed in the Thunderbird, but they are like a Native American tribe technically, so. Okay, something along those lines. We also talked about Europe, a lot of European things here. We have France, we have Italy, and we have Germany. So somewhere in one of those countries of Western to Southern Europe, okay? Along those lines. So to summarize, your locations are South Asia, India specifically, East Asia, either China was emphasized twice with the King of Cups and the Peach, but also Japan and Korea, okay? And then we also talked about somewhere in the United States, maybe the southern U.S. here with the Peach, but specifically with the Thunderbird came up a Chinese folktale, which is, like I said, there were a lot of traditional Chinese communities on the west coast of the United States. And Alaska, which is also on the west coast of the United States, but a lot farther north, okay? So those are maybe 2 locations in the U.S. to look at, and then, yes. And then Europe, like we just talked about, France, Germany, or Italy, okay? So let's talk about the why, though. We're going to talk about exactly why you're being recommended for these locations. I do have some Oracle cards, and then I'll also pull some Letterman cards for you, pile number 2s, okay? So your surrender card is Surrender Frustration. Frustration doesn't open any doors. The key to resolving a dilemma or dissolving a block is to take a breath, center yourself, and regroup so you may approach the situation more calmly. Okay, something about surrendering frustration. Could be stress relief as one reason. Okay, travel is really great for taking a break, maybe healing from some burnout. And then we also have your Lantern Oracle, which is Misalignment 17. Miracles become normal once we face all aspects of our life in the same direction. It could be also a reason of getting more in tune with who you are deep inside and what's your own true north, pile number 2s, okay? Like it says, miracles become normal once we face all aspects of our life in the same direction. Maybe distilling a little bit more about what you value or who you are deep down. Crystallizing it a bit more. Something that's maybe in tune with these cultures we talked about that helps you recognize that if you were to travel there, okay? And then we'll also pull some Letterman cards like I promised. I'm actually going to shuffle these quick, so yes. Yes, I've heard Alaska is just gorgeous. I would love to go there someday myself. Also, East Asia I'd love to go to, too. Any of these countries, honestly, but... All right, Spirit for pile 2s, 3 cards. Letterman, please. Why? Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3. All right. We have the book, the writer or the bard, and the fox. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Lenormand, really quick, I always describe it as it's a system like tarot, but each card is like a word in a sentence. So reading this for you, pile number 2s. Something about knowledge, a message, and being clever or smart about something. A clever message delivered. Or secret knowledge, it can also mean, is the meaning of the book. Hidden knowledge, cleverly delivered. That could tie into pile number 2 is more about, we talked about misalignment here, who you are on the inside. It could be there's something about yourself that you're not recognizing currently, that if you were to travel to one of these places, there's something there that would help that click for you and make you more in tune with that and more understanding of that quality of yourself, okay? There's something hidden about yourself that hasn't been unveiled yet, that maybe there's something there that would be like a trigger to realizing that that value is important to you, or there's something that you haven't, where you are right now, where you live most of the time, isn't in tune with that specific value. And that's why by traveling to these places, it would bring more of that out. Does that kind of make sense, right? Okay. So yeah, let's see what else pops up here. One moment. I'm going to look over your cards. And then frustration too. Frustration doesn't open any doors. There could be that there's been a little bit of a block in your life, pile two. Something that you're having trouble figuring out. That could also mean or be related to your misalignment, and then also the hidden knowledge cleverly conveyed or delivered here. Like maybe there's something in your life that there's like a decision that you haven't been able to make yet, and you're just not sure of where you want to go or what it is that you want to do next, okay? And part of traveling to these places, or at least one of them, would help you unblock and realize what that is. Could be something to do with career. It could be traveling to this place makes you realize that your current career or job is not serving you, and so while you're there, it inspires you to follow something new or something else, right? Could be something to do in general with the way your life is going that you're not happy with, or there's something that feels blocked there, and by traveling to this place, all of a sudden you realize, hey, wait a minute, I actually do value this thing and I want to go in this direction. That type of thing, okay? It could be in general, too, that if you haven't traveled a lot in your life so far, maybe part of your soul path or your learning of your lessons here on Earth is to travel a bit more. Maybe traveling isn't something that you haven't, what's the best way to describe that? Maybe traveling isn't something that you necessarily saw as important or valued before, but at the point where you would travel to these places, it unlocks something in you and makes you realize, hey, wait a minute, I actually really like doing this, and maybe travel is a value of mine, and so maybe put more emphasis or focus on that in your life afterwards. Of course, depending on your situation and your experiences with travel so far, of course, but let's see what else. The other whys. Yeah, there's something about being clever there with that fox. Hidden knowledge delivered cleverly. Or in a sneaky way. Yeah, something about the culture that you would travel to embodies something that you haven't realized yet. That's what I'm getting from your Lenormand, okay? One moment, I'm going to make sure. I'm going to actually take a drink really quick. One moment of silence as I look over your cards. Apologies, my voice gets kind of scratchy if I've been recording for a bit. Let's see. I'm going to look at that William Shakespeare quote again. 1 second. I'm being called to that. I will wind thee in my arms, so doth the wood bind the honeysuckle gently and twist. Domestic happiness and devoted affection. Yeah, there's something about like what you'll learn in these areas that you'll bring home in terms of, I don't know, I don't want to say necessarily a romantic partner but it does say domestic happiness. Could be a honeymoon. Oh, especially with honeysuckle, I didn't realize that. Like a honeymoon or something? Maybe if you're currently looking at like honeymoon locations. That's an indication here. Let's see what else pops up here. Especially the Six of Pentacles here. 1 moment. The Six of Pentacles is fairness to equal distribution. Yeah. Sorry I'm being so silent with you now, pile number 2. Miracles become normal once we face all aspects of our life in the same direction. Yeah, it's like so far. Okay, intuitively, I'm being told it's like so far in your life, there's a direction you've been following that like it's not necessarily. It hasn't been the wrong direction for you, pile 2s. It's just that by going to one of these places, it'll trigger something where you realize that this is the new direction I actually want to go to, and it unblocks, and it makes your life a lot less frustrating. Okay, does that make sense here? Especially with surrender frustration. Something that makes you more fulfilled there, too, with your fulfillment card here with the peach. Yeah, okay. Well, pile number 2 is to summarize. You are being recommended, if you were to travel, to go to India, somewhere in East Asia, specifically either, Japan, Korea, or China. Okay. Also, somewhere in America, specifically where there were communities of Chinese people. Usually that means the west coast of the US and or Alaska here with the Inuit card here. Something to do with being in touch with the Native American cultures in these areas or the Chinese cultures in these areas, okay? We also talked about Europe as well. We saw Rapunzel, which was Germany, Sleeping Beauty, which is Italy, and then Donkey Skin, which is France, okay? So somewhere, southern, western Europe, okay? And the reason why you're being... Oh, we also talked about the southern US a little bit, maybe with the peach, okay? So the reason why you're being pushed towards these areas is because there's something to do with a blockage in your life, something you're frustrated about, that going to these places, or at least one of them, will help you feel more aligned with your true north, what you really value deep down. Something about... It's like something about yourself that's hidden that doesn't become unveiled until you're there and it unlocks you, especially with the book, the writer, and the fox, like a hidden knowledge cleverly delivered, okay? And then it's just like it clicks and you're like, oh, this is the direction I want to go, okay? Even too, especially with the economy right now, I know maybe travel might not be in the budget. Even just studying these cultures, learning more about them can be helpful as well, okay? Something more with their cultural values. All right, well, pile number 2 is I hope that reading was helpful for you. As always, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye. Hello, my lovely pile number 3s. Welcome to your pick a card reading today that is on the topic of what travel destination sings to your spirit. As you recall, the card you used to pick your pile was She Who Grants Wishes, Alice, with the tagline, Wish, Desires, Hope. So with most pile leaders, I like to kind of talk a little bit about what's the first intuitive messages I get with it, specifically because I believe that you're called to each card that you're called to for a reason, right? And in terms of travel destinations, I'm getting, and I know this seems kind of weird, but I'm getting Italy off of this card, specifically because even though she's not wearing like a Carnival mask, it gives me like an Italian Carnival vibe for some reason, okay? Because she... Yeah, there's not even anything specifically giving off like Italy vibes, like I said, but intuitively I'm being told Italy at least is one destination for you, okay? So let's look at your oracle cards. This reading will work in 2 different sections. First, we're going to do the meat of the reading, which is the where, so different travel destinations that Spirit kind of recommends for you. And then the second, smaller section will be the why. So specifically, why are you being encouraged towards these places? And then we'll also draw some tarot and then some Lenormand cards too. So let's talk about your oracle cards for the where. So I'm going to split these 2 off. We'll talk about these later. First card is Botanical Inspirations. You receive the flower hydrangea. Thankfulness for understanding, and the quote says, "Before we can forgive one another, we have to understand one another," by Emma Goldman. To my understanding, I believe hydrangea is technically originally a Japanese flower. I believe it's also native to the Americas, though, so both Asia and America. Okay. So that could be one indicator of a location. We'll talk about what else pops up before we say that conclusively, of course. Your folklore oracle for today is the willow tree. Lovely. Willows, I believe, are pretty popular or common around most of the world. Though I do know, I'm pretty sure willow was associated with Hecate in Greek mythology. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. So Greece, perhaps? We talked a little bit about Italy, maybe Greece as well, somewhere in the Mediterranean, right? Willows are also commonly found towards water, so watery locations, okay? All right, and then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to drop down in the comments if I'm wrong, okay, just tell me. But I think willow trees are also found in Asian countries. Okay. I don't know if they were ornamental, like brought there after like the world kind of opened up to everybody, but I believe I think I've seen willows or a lot of willow trees in like Asian gardens. So anyways, feel free to drop down in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong. But so Asia could be another indicator. We'll see what specifically pops out though. Your sacred destiny for today is leadership. We have a polar bear, clear skies, somewhere cold, boreal, clear skies. Maybe you have an interest in astronomy, so what are they called? There's areas of the world that don't have as much light pollution, and you can see the sky really clearly. Could be an area of the world that you might be drawn to, or your soul kind of sings to, right? Vice versa. And then let's pull out the tarot cards to get some more nitty-gritty. Okay, Spirit from my lovely pile threes, could you explain about 4 different cards indicating areas of the world? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I usually don't consult the guidebook in my readings because I already know tarot like the back of my hand, but this specific deck does draw from different folk tales around the world, and I haven't memorized every single card's origin, so we might look at the guidebook a little bit just to make sure I'm giving you conclusive answers on where you're being encouraged to go. Okay, so first up, this card for sure, we have the King of Cups reversed. This is a Chinese folktale. I believe it is the Boy and the Pearl, but I will check to make sure. King of Cups reversed is about asking for more external emotional expression. Okay, the traditional meaning of it, but talking about locations, this is China. So we talked about a little bit maybe about with the willow and then also the hydrangea, East Asia. Yeah, I think every pile that I got East Asia at least once. Okay. Popular locations, beautiful there. High Priestess. I believe this is a Middle Eastern folktale. I'd have to see what specific country, though. High Priestess is about intuition. Middle East. I think you're the only pile that got the Middle East today. All right. And then we have the Six of Swords. We talked about Greece. I don't remember what specific Greek legend this is, but we'll see. Greece. Somewhere in the Mediterranean, but specifically Greece. Okay. Six of Swords is about moving physically to a new place. Moving on. And then we also have the Four of Coins reversed. Forgive me, off the top of my head, I do not know what specific Native American tribe this is, but I believe it is a Western Native American tribe in America. I will check the book to make sure, though. Four of Coins reversed is about giving more freely. Okay. So let's check the guidebook. Uno momento. We have the King of Cups is a Chinese folktale, I'm pretty sure. Chinese legend of the Boy and the Dragon Pearl. Okay. Then we have the High Priestess, so China. High Priestess is... Let us see here. She's early in the deck. This is Arabic folktale from Turkey. Okay, so the Near East. Turkey, which is close to Greece, to my understanding. So that area of the world. Then we also have the Six of Swords, which I'm pretty dang sure is Greece, but I'll make sure to see which specific legend. Yep. I might butcher this pronunciation. Danae and Perseus from Greek mythology. This is specifically Perseus and his mother escaping from their father/husband. Okay, and then we also have this Native American legend here. I will make sure to be accurate about who this or where this is from. So this is South American, Peru. Okay, I was incorrect. It's not Western U.S., it's Peru. All right. Condor's wife from the Aymara. So Peru, South America, lovely. Also, I don't think we've had South America yet today either. You're more of the unique pile today, pile number 3. Okay, so to summarize, based on the cards we've gotten so far, the travel destinations you're being recommended towards are, we talked about the Mediterranean and the Near East. So you have Turkey here with the High Priestess. Okay. We have Greece with Six of Swords. That's the Tale of Perseus, right? We have Italy, was the thing I was getting intuitively from your pile leader, Alice. So Italy, Turkey, Greece, somewhere in the southern Mediterranean or the Near East, okay? Then we also have some Asian countries here. We have the willow is two-faceted. The willow was seen as associated with Hecate in Greek mythology. Okay, so that's another indication of Greece, but also the willow trees, I always associate personally with Asia. I believe it is a tree native to Asia, and or it's grown a lot in Asian gardens if it was brought later, right, after the world opened up. So that combined with the hydrangea, which is a both Asian and North American flower, and the King of Cups, which is a Chinese folktale. Okay. So China, Japan, somewhere in East Asia, which a lot of piles, I think every pile got East Asia at least once today. Okay. Popular travel destination, like I said, gorgeous there. Wish I could go there someday. And then we also have, we talked about Greece, and then we also have Peru here with the condor wife, Neymara. So South America, Peru, which I believe is Machu Picchu in Peru. Maybe Machu Picchu would be of interest to you. Gorgeous. And then we also have your leadership card here, which is a polar bear, which speaks of more northern climates, okay? Northern territories. Canada, North Asia, what else? Northern Europe, too, it could be, like Scandinavia could be one. Like Sweden, Norway, Finland, those areas, okay? Denmark. So Northern Europe, perhaps, or Northern America, or North Asia. Somewhere cold, somewhere with clear skies, okay? Polar bears specifically are, I think, in the far, far north of North America, close to the North Pole. So I don't even know if people can travel. Can people travel to the North Pole? Maybe they can. Correct me once again in the comments if I'm wrong. But somewhere Arctic, okay? Or cold, at least. Boreal, more cold climates. That type of thing. Let's see if there's anything else I can glean before we move on to the why. You know, I'm actually going to ask to pull a card on more specifics with that Arctic card. We might not specifically get an Arctic card here with the deck, but we'll see what else pops out. Okay. Spirit, can you give me a little bit more on the leadership card, please? Where? Excuse me, I keep clearing my throat today. My voice is a bit scratchy, so. All right, I'm going to pull this one. We have, this is, I have to check the guidebook again. Page of Swords reversed. We'll see what the meaning of that is. I also want to pull maybe one more. We have the Seven of Swords, which is the coyote trickster of Native American mythology. I'm going to check one moment. I want to make sure we have accuracy. Page of Swords is from an Arabic folktale, Anatolia. Okay. And then we also have the Seven of Swords, which is the coyote trickster of Native American mythology, to my understanding. The Pacific Northwest, Salish. So I did say before, I thought this one here, Condor Wife, was actually Western Native American, and then we found out it actually was from Peru, but I did say before Western Native American. The coyote is from the Pacific Northwest, Salish. So I believe that would be like the states of Washington and Oregon, and then also the Pacific Northwest area of Canada above there, okay? Temperate rainforests. Beautiful area. I've been to Washington myself. I can recommend it. It's very gorgeous. Okay, so maybe more northern climates on the west coast of Canada. Okay, with that Seven of Swords being from the Pacific Northwest, and then also the more cold regions, okay? And then we also saw like Anatolia here with the Page of Swords, which I believe, I'm trying to remember where Anatolia is. I'm not the best at geography, so is that kind of like Turkey near Asia? Feel free to correct me once again in the comments, okay? But yeah, okay. So to summarize, like I said, China, Japan, Turkey, Greece, Peru, the Pacific Northwest of America, and maybe perhaps Italy and Anatolia. Okay? Those are your locations, or if not the Pacific Northwest, somewhere more northern climate. Okay? Okay. I'm going to take a drink really quick, and then we're going to talk about your why you're being recommended towards these places. Forgive me, am I clearing my throat? I have done multiple readings today, and you are the last one, so my voice probably doesn't sound the best. So clearing my throat helps a little bit. All right, without further ado, why? Your surrender card is surrender to non-action. Now is the time to be still and not act. Simply breathe and focus on your own power. Let others come to you. All right, non-action, taking rest. Specifically, if you do travel to one of these places, I would recommend a trip that's a little bit less about get up and go and do things and more about resting and being at peace, okay? That's one little indication here from that card. So part of the why is resting, okay? Letting your body rest, letting your mind rest, somewhere that brings you peace. Okay. Your Lantern Oracle for today is voice, number 30. You are here to be known, so speak and be seen. Another aspect of the why you're being recommended to these places is because it ties into something that you're vocal about. Now that could mean, I don't know if you would be interested in travel writing or doing videos, broadcasting your travel. Could be that something about going to these places ties into the way that you speak to people or a lesson you might convey to others. Okay? Something about sharing your experiences there is important to both your soul path and likely to the people around you or to whoever you are sharing the story to. Okay? Something along those lines. It could be also if you're a musician, if you're interested in music or art in general, there's some sort of creative passion that's a little bit more inspired after having gone to one of these places. So it could be that maybe it inspires a little bit more musical creativity, perhaps, and I said this to one of the other piles too, money is a bit tight right now with the economy, so if travel is not necessarily available to you, studying these cultures, and specifically with that voice card, their musical traditions, could help in this area if you're looking for a little bit of a creative unblocking, getting some inspiration from their cultures on how they do music, maybe even their poetry in their writing, their stories, that type of thing. Okay, is helpful to you. Listening to their voice as well, not just broadcasting your own, but what's the voice of the cultures of these places and what do they have to say? What lessons do they convey, right? Could touch your soul, okay? So we'll also pull some Lenormand cards here too. I'm going to just do a little quick shuffle off screen and then we'll do a riffle shuffle here. Okay, Spirit, for my lovely pile threes, can you explain the why with 3 cards, please? Why? Why these areas? Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. Okay, we have the Emperor, or the Lord, the man, basically, the Garden, and the Scythe. Pile number 2's got the Scythe and the Garden too. Interesting, I think. All right, so Lenormand, really quickly, if you're not familiar, it's a system like tarot. Each card is like a word in a sentence. So reading this for you, pile 3s, there's something to do with a man, a community, and something happening swiftly. Interesting. So if I read this all together, one moment. A man, a community. Could also mean masculine energy. Doesn't necessarily mean a man, but a man, community, and swiftness. Something to do with something about connecting to a certain community, the masculine energy of that community, and gaining a lesson from that a lot quicker than you would have had you not gone there. Does that kind of make sense? Pile number 3s, you're almost similar to pile 2s that way. Something about the way men or masculine energies are considered or viewed or valued in this, or expressed, I guess is another way I could say that, in this community of wherever you might visit, bringing you to a connection to that community or a lesson more swiftly than you would have had you not gone there, okay, or had you not studied this place, I guess is another way to say that, right? Of course, keeping in mind price of travel nowadays, right? Yep. So, to summarize the why, we talked about peace. We talked about rest. Pile number 3 is there's something about taking a break here with surrender to non-action. Specifically, like I said, if you are to travel to one of these places, they recommend more of a contemplative type trip, not so much a very active, run around from this place, run around to that place, do this thing, do that thing, and then you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, right? More so non-action in terms of viewing vistas, spiritual retreat, peaceful retreat, that type of thing, closing your eyes, resting, be still, do not act, that type of thing, okay? Number 2, there's something about the way that you will either bring back something from these cultures that you will speak about in some manner, be it music, art, writing, actual speaking, video making maybe, to convey to others. That's important. Also to hear the voices of that culture that you're visiting that are important to the development of your soul with your voice card there, okay? So likely something to do with creativity, something to do with the way that you hear about other cultures or listen to other cultures, and also the way that you convey what they have told you, okay? That's how I would interpret that voice card. Number 3, the Lenormand, to summarize once again. Something to do with the masculine energy or leadership. Oh, that's funny. You also got the leadership card too. I forgot about that for a second. Leadership, taking leadership in a community. Oh, okay, that clicks too. So we talked about it's masculine energy within a community, learning more about that quicker than you would have had you not visited or studied this culture, right? But also it can mean something along the lines of learning about leadership in this community, swift leadership. There's some lesson there about being a leader, of embodying that masculine energy of authority, okay? Yeah, especially because you got that leadership card earlier. That clicked for me. I remembered that the male figure in Lenormand can mean like leadership or authority. Masculine energy, right? Yes, okay. See if there's anything else. I just want to make sure I glean all the correct messages for you before I sign off with you, pile number 3s. Yeah, you're like pile number 2s, where there's something about learning something faster in this culture than you would have learned had you not studied or visited it for your soul. It's about bringing a lesson a bit faster. Yeah. Okay. Let's see, anything else? All right, well, I think that is it for you pile number 3s. So, quick summary. Peaceful retreat. Listening to the voices of the culture there, conveying it yourself, or being creatively inspired by it. Something about a role in leadership or learning about leadership in a community. And the specific locations are East Asia, so Japan or China, Peru, Greece was emphasized, Anatolia, Turkey, a little bit of Italy, maybe Venice, Venetian Carnival vibes I got from your pile leader, okay. The Pacific Northwest, which could mean either Canada or the northwestern states of the United States, okay. And I believe that was it. I just want to make sure. Yes, those are all the countries, or somewhere more northern climate here with that polar bear we saw earlier, okay. So, yeah, Americas, East Asia, Near East or Middle East, okay, and South America with that Peru, okay. So, pile number 3s, I hope that reading was helpful for you. As always, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading.